I'm 82 years old, and I've been awake since before dawn, sitting at the kitchen table where my wife used to drink her coffee. She's been gone 7 years now, and I finally understand something I didn't have the courage to face while she was alive. I didn't lose my marriage because of shouting or betrayal or some dramatic mistake. I lost it because I stayed quiet. I'm telling this now because there isn't much time left for me, and because silence doesn't disappear when a person does. It just waits. And then it speaks later, when no one can answer back. These days, my mornings are slow. I boil water I don't always use. I read the same newspaper longer than I need to. Sometimes I talk out loud just to hear a voice in the room. It wasn't supposed to be like this. We didn't plan for this ending. When I think about time now, it feels thin. Like paper you can almost see through. Back then, time felt endless. Solid. Reliable. That was the first lie I believed. I met Eleanor when I was 26. She worked the front desk at a dental office. I came in for a chipped tooth and left, knowing I'd be back, even if my mouth never hurt again. She wasn't loud. She didn't flirt in obvious ways. She just looked at you like she was really there. We married 3 years later. A small ceremony. Church basement. Coffee and cake. Nothing fancy, but it felt permanent, in the way young people think permanence works. I loved her. I want to be clear about that. I loved her in the way I knew how. I worked hard. That's how I showed it. Long hours. Over time when it was offered. I told myself I was building something for us. She never complained about the work itself. What she asked for was smaller. She wanted me to talk. At the time, I didn't understand that as a need. I thought it was a preference, something negotiable. I wasn't raised in a talking household. My father worked. My mother kept the house. They didn't discuss feelings. They survived. So, when Eleanor would ask how my day was, I answered with facts. When she said she felt lonely, I told her she wasn't. When she cried, I waited for it to pass. I thought staying calm was kindness. I thought not arguing was maturity. What I didn't realize was that silence isn't neutral. It leans away. The years moved on quietly. We had 2 children, a boy and a girl. There were school lunches, parent-teacher meetings, holidays that blurred together. From the outside, we looked fine. Better than fine, some people said. Inside the house, there was a distance that grew so slowly, I didn't notice it happening. Eleanor would sit at the table after dinner, hands folded, waiting for something. I didn't know what. I didn't ask. Sometimes she'd start a sentence and stop. I didn't push her to finish. I thought giving space was respectful. She thought I didn't care enough to stay. There were moments, small ones. A look she held a second too long. A sigh she didn't explain. Each time, I told myself, it wasn't important. There would be time later. That phrase followed me my whole life. Later. Later when work slowed down. Later when the kids were older. Later when things settled. Things never settled. They just changed shape. By our 40s, we were efficient together. Schedules matched. Bills paid. We ran a household well, but we stopped reaching for each other. She still tried. I see that now. She asked questions that weren't really about answers. Are you happy? Do you ever think about us? I answered quickly. Too quickly. Yes, of course. What I meant was, I don't know how to talk about this. The silence became normal, comfortable even. And that's the dangerous part. You don't miss what you slowly stop expecting. The turning point didn't arrive with a fight. It came with exhaustion. One night, Eleanor told me she felt invisible. She said it softly, like she was already tired of hearing herself say it. I remember nodding. I remember saying, "I'm sorry you feel that way." I didn't ask why. I didn't ask how long. That was the moment. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was final. She stopped trying after that, and I mistook that for peace. Years later, when the kids were grown and gone, the house got quieter. Too quiet. She spent more time in the garden. I spent more time at work, even though I didn't need to anymore. We slept in the same bed, but not together. There's a difference. When she got sick, it wasn't sudden. A diagnosis, treatments, appointments. I went to everyone. I held her hand. I thought that was enough. One afternoon, sitting in a waiting room, she said, "I wish we had talked more." She wasn't accusing. She wasn't crying. She was stating a fact. I laughed softly and said, "We're talking now." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She passed away 6 months later. At the funeral, people told me what a good husband I was. How steady, how reliable. I nodded. I accepted their kindness. At night, alone in the house, those words echoed differently. Reliable isn't the same as present. Steady isn't the same as open. Grief doesn't arrive all at once. It sneaks in through ordinary moments. Making 1 cup of coffee instead of 2. Hearing something funny and turning to share it with no one. But the regret came later. Much later. It came when I started remembering conversations that never happened. Questions I never asked. Apologies I assumed I'd have time to make. I realized that Eleanor didn't leave me when she died. She had been leaving in small ways for years, and I let her go, quietly. That's the cost of silence. Not explosion, but erosion. You don't notice it until there's nothing left to stand on. There are things that can't be fixed. You can't reopen a conversation with someone who's gone. You can't explain yourself into the past. I would give anything to sit at that table again and say, "Tell me what you need," and mean it. Instead, I talk to her picture sometimes. I don't expect answers. If you're listening to this and you still have someone beside you, I won't tell you what to do. I can only tell you what I wish I had known. Silence feels safe. It feels controlled. But it tells the other person they're alone in their thoughts. You don't have to have the right words. You just have to stay. I don't have much time left. I know that now. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I've made peace with what I can. I just didn't want to leave this unsaid too. If this meant something to you, you can sit with it for a while. You don't need to rush. That's something I finally learned.